Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight, and I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. Stop telling people your problems. Nobody really cares. You think they do, but they don't. Most people, they're too busy with their own mess. You walk around unloading your burdens, thinking somebody gonna come rescue you? Nah, life don't work like that. People are often too consumed with their own lives to truly care about your problems. This isn't meant to sound cold, it's just a fact of life. Every single person is walking around carrying a weight you can't see. They've got bills, heartbreaks, insecurities, responsibilities, and silent battles that they don't talk about either. When you come to them with your issues, even if they nod and pretend to listen, most of them are only half present because their own mind is somewhere else. They might offer a polite, "Oh, that's tough," or "I'm here if you need anything," but as soon as the conversation ends, they go right back to focusing on their own situation. It's not because people are evil or selfish. It's because the world demands so much from each of us that there's barely space to absorb anyone else's pain. Emotional bandwidth is limited. Everyone's trying to survive. That's the reality. Now, when you pour your problems out to someone, hoping for deep understanding or a solution, it often falls flat. You might think you're getting support, but most of the time what you're really getting is a brief moment of forced sympathy followed by forgetfulness. People aren't writing down your issues to come back and check on you later. They're not losing sleep over your struggles. They go home and think about their own. So instead of expecting someone else to carry your load or walk you through the fire, you've got to understand that most people aren't built to be your emotional crutch. They've got their own fires to put out. This is why so many people feel disappointed and let down when they open up to others. They expect empathy, but what they get is indifference disguised as concern. If you're always telling people your problem, eventually you become that person they avoid. They don't want to hear it. They won't say it to your face, but they'll label you as negative, draining, or weak. And that label sticks. Doesn't matter how good your heart is or how real your pain is. If you're constantly showing up with problems and never with solutions or resilience, people start to pull away. They don't want to be your therapist. They want light energy, inspiration, something that adds to their life, not subtracts from it. That's the harsh truth no one wants to talk about. You have to learn to be your own safe space. You have to learn to comfort yourself, build inner strength, and figure things out without expecting someone else to hold your hand through it all. This isn't about isolation. It's about self-reliance. The more you depend on people emotionally, the more you get disappointed. The more you expect someone to fix your pain, the longer you delay your healing. The strongest people you see, the ones who walk with calm and carry themselves with power. They've been through hell too, but they handled it silently. They cried alone, prayed alone, healed alone, and came back stronger because of it. They didn't go around broadcasting their problems, hoping someone would care enough to save them. They saved themselves because they knew no one else would. And once you realize that the world keeps turning, no matter how bad your day is, you stop looking for pity. You stop explaining yourself. You start moving forward with grit, knowing that the only person who can change your life is you. People will notice you when you win, not when you whine. So while everyone else is distracted with their own chaos, you have to become the one person in your life who shows up fully. You have to become the calm in your own storm. That's the beginning of true power. Venting to the wrong people can be dangerous. They might use your pain against you. When you share your problems with someone, you handing them a part of your heart, your struggle, and your vulnerability. That might feel safe in the moment, especially if the person acts like they care, but you never truly know someone's intentions until pressure is applied. The truth is, Not everyone you talk to has your best interests at heart. Some people pretend to listen just to gather information, not to help you. They smile while you speak, but on the inside, they're already storing your weakness as a weapon. Maybe not for now, but later, when they're angry, insecure, jealous, or just bored, they might pull out what you shared in confidence and use it to tear you down. The people who thrive off gossip. And when you tell them about your struggles, they don't hear your pain. They hear a story to tell someone else. It's not safe to bleed around people who are looking for something to feed on. The world can be cruel that way. You might think you confide in a friend, but that friend might be someone who secretly enjoys seeing you struggle because it makes them feel strong. Your vulnerability can become entertainment for others, a topic in someone else's conversation, a twisted tale that doesn't even sound like the truth anymore once it passes through the mouths of a few people. That betrayal stings, especially when it comes from someone you trusted, someone who smiled at you while you were breaking inside. And beyond just gossip, there are people who will manipulate your pain for their own advantage. They'll use what you told them to control you, to make you doubt yourself, to make you feel small when they want to feel powerful. They'll remind you of your lowest moments when you're trying to stand tall. They'll say things like, remember when you couldn't even do this? Or you've always been bad at that. And suddenly your confidence cracked. Not because they're right, but because you gave them the tools to hit you where it hurts most. That's the risk you take when you vent to the wrong people. You're handing over emotional ammo, hoping for support, but possibly fueling future attack. You've got to learn to pause before you open up. You've got to ask yourself if the person you're talking to has earned the right to hold your truth. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people are only meant to stand on the surface of your life. They don't have the character to handle what's real. They'll nod and act like they're listening, but their motives are anything but pure. That's why silence is a form of protection. That's why privacy is power. You keep your pain sacred, guarded, and shared only with those who have consistently proven they can be trusted. And even then, you keep something for yourself because there are parts of your healing that are too personal, too sacred to be understood by anyone else. The world loves a story, but not always for the right reasons. You might think telling someone what you're going through is helping you process it, but if they're not mature enough, wise enough, or loving enough to hold that space for you, then you're just setting yourself up for more pain. What starts as a moment of release can turn into months of regret. That's why emotional discipline is so important. It's not about shutting people out. It's about being wise with your voice, with your truth, and with your wounds. Because once you say something, you can't take it back. And once it's out there, it can travel in ways you never imagined. Strength comes from handling your issues privately and working through them with action. When life hits hard and everything around you feels unstable, your first instinct might be to cry out, to explain, to defend yourself, to seek comfort from someone else. For true power lies in what you do when nobody is watching, when there's no applause, no audience, and no reassurance. That's when your character is forged. It's easy to talk about your problems, to express frustration, to explain how unfair life has been. But that talk won't change anything. The struggle remains. What changes the situation is what you choose to do in response to it. Talking is easy. Action is hard. Most people get stuck in the loop of complaining, explaining, and waiting. But the ones who rise, the ones who make it out, are the ones who channel that pain into motion. Handling your issues privately doesn't mean you deny your emotions or suppress what you feel. It means you learn to process those emotions without performing them for the world. It means you sit with your pain in silence and allow yourself to feel it fully without letting it take over. There is dignity in carrying your burdens with grace. Not because you want to appear strong, but because you understand that not everyone is equipped to help you, and not every situation requires an explanation. The world doesn't need to know the details of your struggle. All it needs to see is the result of your perseverance. When you keep your process private, you protect your energy, you protect your peace, you give yourself the space to heal without judgment, without interference, and without pressure. Working through your issues with action means waking up every day and doing the hard things, even when you don't feel like it. It means showing up for yourself consistently, even when no one else shows up for you. It means turning your setbacks into fuel, using them as a reason to push harder, not to quit. Every obstacle becomes a stepping stone when you respond with action instead of excuses. Life doesn't care how much you're hurting. It rewards those who keep moving. Progress is the proof that you're bigger than your pain. It doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be steady. Quiet strength is the most powerful kind because it doesn't need validation. It grows in the dark and it blossoms in silence. There's something sacred about being your own hero, about fighting your battles in the shadows and emerging stronger without needing to tell the world how much you endured. People might not see the nights you cry, the mornings you struggled to get out of bed, the times you almost gave up, but they'll see the results. They'll see the growth. They'll see the transformation. And that's all that matters. Your journey doesn't need to be broadcast. Your comeback doesn't need to be explained. Let your progress speak for itself. Let your life reflect your resilience. There's power in being low-key, in rebuilding yourself quietly, in choosing self-respect over sympathy. Too often people waste time looking for someone to save them, someone to fix everything, someone to walk them through the fire, but you've got to learn how to walk through it yourself. That's where confidence is born. That's where self-worth is developed. Nobody can give that to you. You earn it. You earn it by doing the work, by taking control of your own healing, by refusing to let pain define you. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, effort over excuse, faith over fear, you get stronger. Not just emotionally, but spiritually. You build endurance, you develop grit, and slowly, without realizing it, you become the kind of person who doesn't break easily anymore. The world respects results, not excuses or complaints. In the end, people don't really care what you went through. They care about what you overcame. They don't listen to stories of why it didn't work out. They pay attention when you make it work despite everything. That's the difference between sympathy and respect. You can get sympathy for a while when you talk about your pain, but it fades. Respect lasts, and it comes from what you produce, not what you suffer. You may have every reason to be tired, every right to be frustrated, every justification for your delay, but none of that changes the outcome. All that matters in the world's eyes is whether you delivered. The moment you stop producing, the moment you stop growing, the world keeps moving. Nobody hits pause for your problems. Nobody rewinds the clock so you can catch up. Time doesn't wait, and neither do opportunities. People may nod when you share your problems. They might say they understand, but the truth is they're watching to see what you do next. They want to see whether you'll keep going or whether you'll fold under pressure. They want to see if you're the kind of person who makes excuses or the kind who finds solutions. The moment you show up with results, everything changes. Doors open. Conversations shift. You go from being pitied to being respected because action has power and success silences doubt. That's why it's important not to waste time explaining your pain. Channel that energy into building something that speaks louder than your story. Build something that can't be ignored. Let your life become the proof that you didn't give up. That's how you gain respect. Not by begging for it, not by complaining for it, but by earning it. Excuses may feel good in the moment. They protect your ego. They give you a reason to justify failure, but they don't move you forward. They don't change your situation. They don't help you grow. Every time you make an excuse, you trade your power for comfort. You give away control of your outcome. And once you make one excuse, it gets easier to make the next one. Eventually, excuses become a habit, and habits become your identity. You become the person who always has a reason but never has a result. And that person gets left behind. That person watches others succeed and feels bitter. That person blames the world instead of doing the work. But you're not that person. You don't want to be remembered for what held you back. You want to be remembered for what you pushed through. The truth is, every person who's ever achieved something meaningful had 100 reasons to quit. They had setbacks, heartbreaks, betrayals, losses, fears, just like you. But they didn't let those reasons win. They didn't allow their pain to become their story. They chose to keep showing up. They chose discipline over doubt, effort over emotion, and persistence over pity. And that choice, made consistently, is what separated them from the rest. It's never been about talent alone. It's about hunger. It's about the decision to keep moving even when everything in you wants to stop. It's about choosing to become undeniable. You don't need to explain your journey to people who won't understand it. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them make their assumptions. Your focus should be on the result. Because once they see the results, they'll have no choice but to respect the process. You don't have to argue with people who doubted you. You don't have to convince them that your pain was real. Just show them what you built from it. Show them what you turned it into. That's louder than anything you could ever say. That's the real message. Silence and discipline in hardship earn more power than public sympathy. In a world that constantly urges people to share everything, to post every emotion, to vent every pain, it takes real strength to be quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you've learned that growth happens in silence. There's a different kind of strength in not announcing your battles, in not broadcasting your struggle. When life hits hard, the natural instinct is to cry out, to let the world know how unfair things are, to hope someone will hear and come rushing in with help. But most of the time, no one is coming. People might offer words, they might give temporary attention, but they're not staying long. They have their own lives to manage. The truth is, sympathy may comfort your feelings, but it doesn't change your reality. What does change things is discipline. Doing what needs to be done, even when your heart is heavy and your path is unclear. When you choose silence over noise, you shift the focus inward. You begin to build resilience, one decision at a time. You stop depending on validation from the outside, and instead you become your own compass. That doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means you process them without letting them dictate your behavior. While others are looking for someone to blame or waiting for someone to rescue them, you're taking quiet steps forward. And those steps, no matter how small, create momentum. They give you strength that can't be faked, confidence that doesn't come from applause, but from knowing you showed up for yourself. Discipline is the bridge between pain and power. It's the act of doing the right thing, especially when it's the hardest thing. When you're hurting, the easy path is to shut down, to give up, to distract yourself with comfort. But discipline demands the opposite. It demands that you keep moving, that you hold yourself accountable, that you refuse to become a victim of your own pain. And when you pair that discipline with silence, you become unstoppable. Because now you're not wasting energy explaining yourself to people who don't understand. You're not giving away your power trying to be heard. You're too busy building, too busy healing, too busy becoming. People admire those who can stay grounded in the middle of chaos. They may not say it, but they notice. They respect the ones who don't make noise about their struggles, but show up every day with focus and strength. Silence commands respect because it shows control. It shows that you don't need to be seen to be powerful, that you don't need to speak about your plans to achieve them, that you don't need pity to keep going. When you suffer in silence and stay disciplined through it, you're not only proving something to the world, you're proving something to yourself, that no matter how heavy life gets, you can carry it, that you don't break easily, that your strength isn't for display, it's real and it's earned. The most powerful people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who do the work in the dark, the ones who turn pain into progress without announcing it, the ones who let their actions speak louder than your words ever could. They understand that you don't gain anything from being seen in your weakness. You gain everything from rising in your strength. Silence and discipline might not get you attention, but they will get you results. And results are what truly shift your life. They're what speak when words fall short. They're what last when sympathy fades. God listens and understands, even when people don't. Faith and self-belief are key. In this world, you'll find yourself in moments where no one gets you, where no one understands the depth of what you're going through. You might try to explain, to reach out, to open your heart, and yet all you receive in return is silence, blank stares, or shallow responses. It's one of the loneliest feelings, to hurt and not be heard, to struggle and not be seen. But those are the exact moments when your connection to God and your belief in yourself become everything. People are limited. They can only understand what they've experienced. They can only offer advice based on their perspective. But God sees the whole picture. He sees what you don't say, what you hide, what you bury deep inside. And unlike people, He doesn't need explanation. He already knows. You might feel like nobody cares. You might be in a space where your voice feels small, where your pain feels invisible. But that's when faith steps in. That's when you close your eyes and speak not to the world, but to the one who created it. Because when everyone else walks away, God stays. When no one else understands, He does. And when no one else believes in you, He still sees your purpose, your strength, and your potential. Faith isn't just a spiritual practice. It's survival. It's the quiet force that keeps you going when your heart is tired and your path is unclear. It's the inner knowing that even when the world turns its back, you're still held, still loved, and still guided. Believing in yourself isn't about arrogance or ego. It's about trusting that what's inside you is greater than what's happening around you. It's about refusing to give up just because others don't see your worth. It's about waking up every day and saying, I'm still here and I still have a reason to keep going. That belief has to come from within, because waiting for others to believe in you will only keep you stuck. People will doubt you, misunderstand you, criticize you, or ignore you. But their opinion doesn't define your destiny. God placed something inside of you that no one else has. And that means your path isn't supposed to make sense to everyone. It's only supposed to make sense to you and the one who designed it. When life feels heavy, when your problems feel too big to carry alone, that's when you go inward. You pray, you reflect, you listen. You find strength in silence, clarity in solitude, and hope in faith. You remind yourself that you're not walking through this life alone. Even if no one's holding your hand, God is still guiding your steps. Even if no one cheers for you, He's still working behind the scenes. Your prayers don't go unheard. Your tears don't go unseen. And the fight you're in is not without purpose. Every setback, Every hardship, every dark moment is shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you, and that process doesn't need to be visible to anyone else for it to be real. Self-belief means deciding that you are worthy of better, even when nothing around you reflects it yet. It means believing in the outcome before you see the evidence. It means choosing to move forward with faith, not fear. And faith isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a whisper. Keep going. That whisper can carry you through storms that would have drowned you without it. That whisper, backed by God's presence and your own belief, is more powerful than 1,000 opinions. It's what fuels quiet comebacks, private victories, and personal breakthroughs. When you stop needing others to understand and start trusting that God already does, everything begins to shift. You no longer beg for support. You no longer wait for permission. You just walk by faith, not by sight, knowing that you're built for more and destined for greater. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. Life is not a rehearsal. This is it. You don't get to practice this thing and then come back and do it right. Every single year you are given as a gift, and if you waste it, nobody owes you another one. 2026 is not just another number on the calendar. It's another chance. And chances are expensive because they cost time. Too many people wake up every morning just trying to survive the day instead of building a life. You hit the snooze button on your dreams. You say, oh, one day, so much that one day turns into never. You keep telling yourself you'll start when the time is right. But let me help you out. The time is never right. The time is now or it's gone. Time is the one thing you are given every single day, and it is the one thing you never get back. Money can be replaced, mistakes can be corrected, relationships can be repaired, but time is gone the moment it passes. That's why wasting time is more dangerous than losing money. You can earn money again, but you can never earn yesterday back. Every morning you wake up, life deposits 4 hours into your account, and every night that account goes back to zero. There are no rollovers, no extensions, no refunds. The tragedy is that most people spend their time like it has no value, as if they have an unlimited supply waiting for them somewhere in the future. People don't usually waste their life in one big dramatic decision. They waste it slowly. They waste it by procrastinating. They waste it by scrolling, complaining, waiting, and postponing what they know they should be doing. They tell themselves they are tired, they are not ready, or they will start tomorrow. But tomorrow is a dangerous word because tomorrow gives you permission to stay the same today. Days turn into months. Months turn into years, and one day you wake up wondering where your life went. It didn't disappear, you spent it. When you understand the value of time, your priorities change. You stop giving hours to people who don't respect you. You stop arguing over things that don't move your life forward. You stop delaying your purpose because you realize every delay has a cost. Time doesn't care about excuses. It doesn't pause because you're afraid. It doesn't slow down because you're confused. It keeps moving, whether you move with it or not. Many people say they don't have time, but that's not true. You make time for what matters to you. You find time for entertainment, gossip, and distractions because those things feel easy. What you really mean is that your goals are not yet important enough to demand sacrifice. Once something truly matters, you rearrange your life around it. You wake up earlier. You say no more often. You stop wasting energy on things that don't add value to your future. Wasted time doesn't just steal your days, it steals your confidence. Every time you know what you should do and you don't do it, you lose trust in yourself. Over time, that loss of self-trust turns into self-doubt, and self-doubt keeps you stuck. On the other hand, when you respect your time, even small wins begin to build momentum. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who takes action, someone who honors their own potential. Time is also connected to regret. Most regrets don't come from the things people tried and failed at. They come from the chances people never took, the words they never said, and the dreams they never pursued. People regret not starting sooner. They regret staying too long in places that were draining them. They regret letting fear talk them out of becoming who they were meant to be. All of those regrets have one thing in common. They are tied to time that was wasted or misused. If you truly respected time, you would treat each day like a responsibility, not a guarantee. You would start living like you have forever and start living like today actually matters. Because it does. The way you use your time is the way you use your life. Every focused hour builds something. Every wasted hour takes something away. The choice is being made daily, whether you are conscious of it or not. Fear is one of the quietest thieves of human potential. It doesn't always announce itself loudly or show up as panic. Most of the time, fear sounds reasonable. It tells you to be careful, to wait a little longer, to avoid embarrassment, to play it safe. It disguises itself as logic, but underneath it is the same force that has kept millions of people living far below what they are capable of becoming. Fear doesn't have to stop you completely to win. It only has to slow you down enough that you never fully try. Many people are not afraid of failing. They are afraid of being seen failing. They worry about opinions, criticism, and judgment. They imagine what others will say if they don't succeed, and that imagination becomes stronger than their desire to grow. So instead of risking failure, they choose familiarity. They choose routines they don't love, jobs that don't excite them, and dreams that stay locked inside their minds. What they don't realize is that the pain of regret lasts much longer than the pain of failure ever will. Fear creates the illusion that staying where you are is safer than moving forward. But staying still has its own cost. While you are standing still, time keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Skills confidence weakens. What once felt safe slowly becomes suffocating. You start to feel frustrated, restless, and unfulfilled, not because you are incapable, but because you are living beneath your potential. Fear doesn't protect you from loss. It guarantees a different kind of loss, the loss of who you could have been. One of the most dangerous effects of fear is how it shrinks your vision. You stop thinking big. You stop imagining better. You start setting goals that don't challenge you just so you can avoid disappointment. Over time, your world becomes smaller, not because life limited you, but because fear convinced you to limit yourself. Dreams require courage, and courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means moving forward even when fear is present. Fear also lies about timing. It tells you that you'll start when you're more confident, more prepared, or more experienced. But confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build by acting. Preparation comes from doing, not delaying. Experience is earned by stepping into the unknown. If you wait until fear disappears, you will wait forever. Every person who has ever grown had to move before they felt ready. When you challenge fear, even in small ways, something powerful happens. You begin to reclaim control over your life. Each step forward weakens fear's voice and strengthens your belief in yourself. You realize that fear was never a stop sign, only a test to see how badly you want the life you say you desire. On the other side of fear is clarity, growth, and a deeper respect for yourself. Fear will always offer comfort, but comfort is a poor substitute for purpose. If you allow fear to make your decisions, it will cost you years. But if you decide to move anyway, despite the fear, you give yourself a chance. And sometimes one brave decision is all it takes to change the direction of your entire life. Discipline is the bridge between intention and results. Everyone has goals, ideas, and dreams, but very few people are willing to do what is required consistently when no one is watching. Discipline is not loud or glamorous. It doesn't feel exciting most days. It shows up quietly in the decisions you make when motivation fades and excuses start sounding convincing. Without discipline, even the strongest desire remains just a wish. Motivation is emotional, and emotions change. Some days you feel inspired and unstoppable, and other days you feel tired, doubtful, or overwhelmed. If your progress depends on how you feel, your progress will always be unstable. Discipline removes feelings from the equation. It says you do the work because you decided to, not because you feel like it. That decision, repeated daily, is what creates momentum. Small disciplined actions done over time outperform bursts of effort driven by motivation. Discipline requires structure. You cannot rely on willpower alone because willpower gets tired. You need routines that make the right actions automatic. When you build habits around your goals, you reduce the need to constantly convince yourself to act. You simply follow the system you created. This is why disciplined people appear consistent while others struggle. They are not stronger. They are more intentional with how they organize their lives. A lack of discipline often shows up as self-negotiation. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow, you'll do it later, or you'll make up for it eventually. These small compromises feel harmless, but they add up. Each time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your self-respect. Over time, that erosion creates frustration and self-doubt. Discipline, on the other hand, builds trust with yourself. When you do what you said you would do, even when it's hard, you strengthen your identity as someone who follows through. Discipline is also deeply connected to freedom. Many people believe discipline is restrictive, but the opposite is true. Discipline gives you options. It gives you control over your time, your energy, and your future. Without discipline, you are controlled by distractions, impulses, and circumstances. With discipline, you choose your direction instead of reacting to life. Temporary discomfort leads to long-term independence. One of the hardest parts of discipline is accepting that results are delayed. You may work for weeks or months without seeing visible progress. This is where most people quit. They mistake slow results for no results. Discipline teaches patience. It reminds you that growth happens quietly before it becomes obvious. Just like seeds grow underground before breaking the surface, your efforts are working even when you can't see them yet. Discipline doesn't require perfection. You will miss days, make mistakes, and fall short at times. What matters is returning quickly to your standards instead of giving up entirely. Consistency is not about never failing. It's about refusing to quit. Each time you recommit, you strengthen your discipline muscle. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes normal, and what once felt impossible becomes achievable. Your environment is shaping your life, whether you are paying attention to it or not. The places you spend time, the people you listen to, and the conversations you engage in are quietly influencing your mindset, your habits, and your expectations. Many people try to change their lives without changing their environment, and then they wonder why nothing sticks. You cannot expect to grow in the same conditions that are keeping you comfortable and stuck. Human beings adapt quickly to what surrounds them. If you are constantly around negativity, complaining, and small thinking, it slowly becomes normal to you. You begin to accept limits that were never meant for you. On the other hand, when you place yourself in an environment where growth is encouraged and effort is respected, you start to rise naturally. Your standards elevate without you forcing them. Environment works on you even when you are not trying, which is why it is so powerful. One of the hardest truths to accept is that some environments drain you instead of developing you. This doesn't mean the people or places are bad, but they may no longer be aligned with where you are trying to go. Growth often requires distance, and distance can feel uncomfortable. You may have to spend less time with people who constantly doubt, distract, or discourage you. That is not arrogance, it is awareness. You owe it to your future to protect your direction. Your environment also includes what you consume mentally, the music you listen to, the content you watch, and the words you repeat to yourself all play a role in shaping your reality. If you constantly feed your mind with fear, drama, and low expectations, it will be difficult to act with confidence and clarity. What you consume eventually becomes what you think, and what you think influences how you act. A powerful life begins with intentional input. Physical spaces matter as well. A cluttered environment creates a cluttered mind. When your surroundings are chaotic, your focus suffers. Order creates clarity. When you organize your space, you send a message to yourself that your life is worth structure and care. Small changes, like cleaning your workspace or creating a quiet routine, can have a surprisingly strong impact on your discipline and productivity. Your environment can either support your goals or sabotage them. If you want to grow but your surroundings constantly tempt you to stay the same, you will always feel like you are swimming upstream. This is why successful change often begins with changing who and what you are around. When your environment supports your goals, progress feels less like a fight and more like a natural outcome. Choosing a better environment is an act of self-respect. It is a decision to place yourself in situations that challenge you to be better instead of pulling you backward. You may not be able to change everything at once, but even small adjustments can create momentum. Over time, those changes compound, and you begin to realize that the environment you once thought you needed to escape is no longer controlling your future. Faith without action is comforting, but is also limiting. Many people believe deeply, hope sincerely, and pray consistently, yet their lives remain unchanged because belief alone does not produce results. Faith is meant to move you, not replace effort. It is not a waiting room where you sit until something happens. It is a call to step forward, even when the outcome is uncertain. When faith is separated from action, it becomes passive, and passivity slowly turns into disappointment. Action is how faith proves itself. When you take a step toward what you believe in, you demonstrate trust not only in God, but also in the abilities you were given. Too often, people ask for doors to open while refusing to walk toward them. They want clarity before commitment and guarantees before effort. But life rarely works that way. Most breakthroughs require movement first and understanding later. The path becomes clear only after you start walking. Faith-based action often feels uncomfortable because it demands responsibility. It requires you to stop blaming circumstances, people, or the past. When you act, you acknowledge that you have a role to play in your own progress. That responsibility can feel heavy, but it is also empowering. It reminds you that you are not helpless, that your choices matter, and that your future is shaped by what you do consistently, not just by what you believe. Another challenge is impatience. Many people take a few steps, don't see immediate results, and assume it isn't working. True faith understands timing. Growth does not always show up quickly, but it is always responding to effort. Just because you don't see change right away does not mean nothing is happening. Progress is often happening beneath the surface, developing strength, skill, and character before visible success appears. Faith-driven action also requires courage. You may have to move without full support or understanding from others. Not everyone will see what you see or believe what you believe. Some will question your decisions or doubt your direction. If you allow those voices to stop you, you give them power over your destiny. Acting in faith means trusting your inner conviction more than external approval. There is also a difference between wishing and working. Wishing keeps you comfortable, but working stretches you. Wishing says, I hope things change. Working says, I will do something today that moves me forward. Even small actions, when done with intention, can create momentum. Faith does not require giant leaps every day. It requires steady steps in the right direction. When faith and action come together, Confidence grows. Each step you take strengthens your belief, not because everything works perfectly, but because you see yourself showing up. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to expect progress. Over time, what once felt risky becomes familiar, and what once felt impossible becomes achievable. Faith was never meant to keep you still. It was meant to push you becoming who you were always capable of being. EXPN to 6K RTON 600 WAD ISO WAHANG and Kokoloan. Consistency is the quiet force that decides most outcomes in life. It doesn't demand talent, luck, or perfect conditions. It only asks that you show up again and again, even when progress feels slow and results are invisible. Many people underestimate consistency because it doesn't create instant change, but over time, it creates permanent change. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are. Talent can open doors, but consistency keeps them open. Motivation can spark action, but it fades quickly. Consistency is what remains when excitement wears off and reality sets in. It is the willingness to continue when the work feels boring, when the results are delayed, and when no one is watching. This is where most people stop. Not because they can't do it, but because they won't do it long enough. Inconsistency creates frustration. Starting and stopping repeatedly drains energy and confidence. Each restart feels heavier than the last because you are constantly rebuilding momentum instead of maintaining it. Over time, inconsistency trains your mind to expect failure. You begin to doubt yourself not because you lack ability, but because you lack follow-through. Consistency, on the other hand, builds trust with yourself. It proves that you are reliable, disciplined, and committed to your own growth. Small actions consistently outperform big actions done occasionally. Reading 10 minutes a day is more powerful than reading for hours once a month. Saving a small amount regularly builds more security than waiting for a perfect moment to save big. Consistency compounds. Each small effort adds to the last, creating growth that feels almost invisible at first, but becomes undeniable over time. Consistency also simplifies life. When actions become routine, you spend less mental energy deciding what to do. You remove unnecessary friction and excuses. This makes progress sustainable instead of exhausting. People who succeed long-term are not constantly pushing themselves to extremes. They build systems that support steady effort and protect their focus. One of the biggest challenges with consistency is impatience. We live in a world that celebrates quick wins and overnight success, but real growth rarely works that way. Consistency requires faith in the process. It requires trusting that your efforts matter, even when results are not immediate. Those who quit or never get to see how close they were to a breakthrough. Consistency does not mean perfection. You will miss days and make mistakes. What matters is returning without self-criticism or delay. Missing once is human. Quitting is a choice. Each time you return, you strengthen your resilience and deepen your commitment. Over time, consistency becomes part of your identity. You no longer ask if you will show up, you just do. And that simple decision, repeated daily, has the power to completely change the direction of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful today. You don't have to make noise to make progress. In a world where everyone wants to show what they're doing, what they've achieved, and how far they've come, I'm here to tell you that true success doesn't shout. It whispers. You don't have to post your every move. You don't have to explain your every step. You just have to build yourself quietly, brick by brick, day by day, when nobody's watching. Silence is power. Your growth doesn't need to be announced. In today's world, everyone seems to be racing to show off what they're doing, posting every move they make and seeking validation from strangers online. But the truth is, real growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the moments when nobody is clapping for you, when no one is watching, when you're fighting battles within yourself. Silence is not weakness. It's a sign of strength, discipline, and focus. When you build yourself quietly, you give yourself the space to grow without the pressure of other people's opinions. You protect your dream from premature exposure. You keep your energy sacred, and that's how you gain real power. When you're silent, you learn to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly, your heart's true desires, and your purpose without the noise of the world interfering. The quiet moments teach you self-awareness. They give you direction, because when you constantly announce your every move, you open yourself to criticism, jealousy, and distraction. You lose the purity of your mission. Not everyone wants to see you win, and sometimes the best way to protect your peace is to move in silence. Let your progress be invisible until it's undeniable. Let your results speak so loudly that you don't have to say a word. Steve Harvey once said that the grind is supposed to be lonely. When you're working on something great, people won't always understand it. They might question your silence. They might think you've fallen off, but in reality, you're just preparing for your comeback. You're just putting in the work quietly, without the need for applause. The most successful people in the world don't talk about what they're doing. They just do it. They let their achievements speak for them. You don't need to prove yourself with words when your actions are powerful enough to tell your story. Silence also gives you power because it helps you stay grounded. When you're constantly talking about your goals, you release energy that should be used for action. You start to feel satisfied just by talking instead of doing. That's why staying quiet keeps you hungry. It reminds you that there's still work to be done. Silence keeps you humble, focused, and connected to your vision. It allows you to fail in private, learn your lessons, and come back stronger without the world watching your every mistake. Every great transformation happens in private before it's seen in public. The seed grows underground long before it breaks through the soil. The same is true for you. Your growth starts in silence before the world ever sees the results. When you build quietly, you protect your energy. You're not competing with anyone. You're improving yourself. You stop caring about what others think, and that gives you freedom. You start valuing progress over praise, discipline over display, and substance over style. You learn that the most powerful people aren't the loudest. They're the calmest. They know that real confidence doesn't need validation. When you're sure of your path, you don't need to announce every step. You just keep moving forward. So embrace the silence. Let it shape you, guide you, and strengthen you. Learn to enjoy working behind the scenes, because that's where your character is built. Remember, every diamond forms under pressure in the dark. Your time will come, but until then, work quietly, grow privately, and let your success do the talking. Silence is not emptiness, it's preparation. It's the space where your greatness is being formed. And when it's time for you to shine, the world will see what silence helped you create. Work on your mindset every day. Confidence is built in private. Every great success story starts in the mind long before it becomes reality. The way you think determines the way you live. Your mindset is the foundation on which your entire life is built. If your thoughts are weak, your actions will be weak. If your thoughts are powerful, your life will reflect that power. That's why you have to work on your mind every single day. Because the mind is like a muscle. It grows stronger with consistent training. You can't think negative and live positive. You can't fill your mind with doubt and expect confidence to grow. The battle for success isn't out there. It's in here, in your mind, in your attitude, in what you believe about yourself when nobody's watching. Confidence is not something that magically appears. It's something you build quietly over time. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, from doing what you said you would do even when it's hard. Every time you push through fear, every time you get up after failing, Every time you stay consistent when no one is clapping for you, you're building confidence in silence. Confidence is built when you face your weaknesses, when you confront your fears, when you stop comparing yourself to others and start competing with who you were yesterday. Nobody can give you real confidence. It's something you earn through effort and discipline. Your mind is the engine that drives your destiny. If you fill it with doubt, it will stall your progress. But if you fill it with belief, it will take you anywhere you want to go. Every morning when you wake up, your thoughts are either working for you or against you. That's why you have to take control of them. Feed your mind with positivity. Speak life over yourself. Say, I was made for this. I will not give up. Words are powerful. They create your reality. The more you tell yourself you're capable, the more your mind starts to believe it. And once your mind believes it, your body follows. But here's what most people get wrong. Confidence doesn't come from showing off. It comes from showing up. It's not built in the crowd, it's built in the quiet. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. You don't have to announce your dreams or brag about your plans. Just work on yourself silently. Practice your craft. Read, learn, grow, improve. Each day that you work in silence, you're laying another brick of confidence. One day people will see the finished building and think it happened overnight, but you'll know the truth. You build it piece by piece when no one was paying attention. You have to protect your mindset the way you protect your home. Don't let negativity move in. Don't entertain doubt, fear, or comparison. Be mindful of what you watch, what you listen to, and who you surround yourself with, because everything you consume becomes a part of your thinking. Surround yourself with voices that lift you up, not those that tear you down. When your environment supports your mindset, your growth becomes unstoppable. Confidence also comes from gratitude. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, you train your mind to see abundance instead of scarcity. Gratitude changes your perspective. It reminds you that you've already overcome so much, that you're capable of more than you think. Every small win you celebrate adds to your inner strength. Every failure you learn from adds to your wisdom. That's how quiet confidence grows. It's not loud or arrogant. It's calm, steady, and unshakable. So work on your mindset every day. Challenge your thoughts. Replace fear with faith. Replace excuses with effort. Remember that confidence isn't a show. It's a feeling of peace that comes from knowing you're becoming better than you were yesterday. Build it quietly, protect it fiercely, and let it shine naturally. Because when your mind is right, everything else in your life starts to fall into place. Remove distractions and stay focused on your goals. In life, distractions are everywhere. Some are loud and obvious. Others are quiet and sneaky. They come disguised as opportunities, people, entertainment, or even habits that feel comfortable but steal your time and attention. The truth is, focus is the difference between average and extraordinary. Every successful person you admire mastered one thing. They learned how to stay focused. They learned how to say no to things that didn't serve their purpose. They learned that every minute wasted is a piece of their dream delayed. If you want to build yourself quietly and powerfully, you must learn the art of focus. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, results grow. We live in a time where distractions have become a way of life. The phone buzzes every few seconds. Social media pulls your attention into other people's lives. And the world keeps shouting at you here, look there, try this, be that. It's easy to lose yourself when you're constantly looking at what everyone else is doing. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You start doubting your progress because someone else looks ahead. But here's the truth, your journey is your own. You cannot focus on your own path if your eyes are always wandering. You can't reach your destination if you keep stopping to look around. You have to decide that your dream matters more than your distractions. Focus requires discipline. It means waking up every day and choosing to give your best even when nobody is watching. It means setting priorities and sticking to them. You can't do everything, and you don't need to. You just need to do what moves you closer to your purpose. Steve Harvey often says that your gift will make room for you, but that gift can't shine if you're too distracted to use it. Every hour you waste scrolling, complaining, or worrying is an hour you could have used building, learning, or improving. You don't have to be busy, you have to be effective. And effectiveness comes from focus. Sometimes distractions come in the form of people. There are those who love you but don't understand your vision. There are those who want your time but don't add value to your journey. You have to be strong enough to say, I can't hang out today. I'm working on my future. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. You can't take everyone with you, and that's okay. Growth requires isolation sometimes. The people meant for you will understand your focus. The ones who don't were never aligned with your purpose in the first place. Focus also means protecting your peace. When your mind is cluttered, you can't think clearly. You need moments of stillness to plan, to reflect, to visualize where you're going. Success is not just about hard work. It's about clear direction. A focused person can accomplish more in 1 year than a distracted person can in 10. You have to guard your time like treasure because that's exactly what it is. Time lost is never found again. Don't waste it chasing approval, gossip, or temporary pleasures. There will be times when you'll be tempted to give up or drift away from your goals. That's when focus matters the most. Remind yourself why you started. Think about the person you're becoming. Think about the future waiting for you if you stay the course. Every small step forward, no matter how quiet, counts. The progress you make in silence will one day speak volumes. So remove the distractions, every habit, thought, or person pulling you away from your dream. Keep your eyes on your path, your mind on your mission, and your heart on your purpose. Focus doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger. And when you master focus, the world can't stop you because a focused mind is the most powerful tool for creating success. Surround yourself with people who inspire your peace, not your noise. The people around you shape your mindset, your energy, and even your future. Whether you realize it or not, the company you keep can either lift you higher or pull you down. You become like the people you spend most of your time with. Their habits, their attitudes, their energy, it all rubs off on you. That's why you have to be intentional about who you allow into your space. Your environment matters more than you think. You can't expect to grow if you're surrounded by negativity, drama, and doubt. You can't expect peace if the people around you thrive on chaos. The wrong crowd will silence your spirit, but the right crowd will help your soul speak. When you surround yourself with people who inspire peace, you'll notice something beautiful. You start feeling lighter. There's no pressure to pretend, no need to compete, no fear of judgment. Peaceful people don't drain you, they fill you. They motivate you to stay calm in the storm and to keep going even when things get tough. They celebrate your wins and they encourage your growth. They're not jealous of your progress. They're inspired by it. They don't gossip about others. They speak life, faith, and hope. These are the people who remind you that it's okay to grow quietly, to work privately, and to live authentically. The problem is that many people stay stuck because they're afraid to let go of toxic relationships. They hold on to people who make them feel small, who belittle their dreams, or who constantly bring negativity into their space. But you can't grow in an environment that drains your spirit. You can't build peace while surrounded by chaos. Sometimes you have to love people from a distance. You can care about someone deeply, but still know that they're not meant to walk this chapter of your life with you. You have to be strong enough to choose peace over company, purpose over popularity, and growth over comfort. Steve Harvey once said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's because growth happens when you surround yourself with people who challenge you, who make you think differently, who inspire you to aim higher. But let that challenge come from a place of peace, not competition. The right people will push you to your best without trying to outshine you. They'll remind you of worth when you forget it. They'll help you refocus when life gets distracting. They'll give you advice out of love, not envy. These are the people who build with you in silence and celebrate with you in light. Peaceful people don't just talk about success. They live it in their energy. They understand that life is not a race, and they're not threatened by your progress. When you're around them, you feel safe to dream bigger. You start thinking more positively. You become calmer, more confident, and more connected to your purpose. The conversations shift from gossip to goals, from problems to plans, from fear to faith. That's how powerful your circle can be. It can change the way you see yourself and the way you see the world. You need people who remind you to keep your standards high. People who don't let you settle for less than what you deserve. You need friends who will tell you when you're wrong, but also remind you when you're right. You need people who won't let you quit when you're tired, who pray with you, work with you, and push you towards greatness. When you have that kind of circle, you don't have to announce your progress to the world because your energy will speak for itself. But peace isn't just about who's around you. It's also about who's not. You must learn to walk away from energy that doesn't align with your purpose. Not everyone deserves access to you. Some people only show up to drain your light, to plant seeds of doubt, or to distract you from your path. You can't fight every battle, and you don't need to explain your peace to anyone. Distance doesn't mean hate, it means self-respect. You owe it to yourself to protect your peace like it's your most valuable possession, because it is. Without peace, there's no progress. Without peace, your purpose gets blurry. When you start choosing peace, you'll notice that your circle gets smaller, but it also gets stronger. You won't have a crowd, but you'll have a tribe. You won't have noise, but you'll have harmony. And in that harmony, you'll find focus, creativity, and happiness. The people you choose to walk with can either calm your storm or create one. So choose wisely. You deserve to be around people who remind you that you're capable, who see your potential even when you doubt yourself, who make you want to be better without forcing you to change who you are. These are the people who help you grow quietly and powerfully. They won't need to see the spotlight to know your worth. They'll see it in your effort, your consistency, and your heart. At the end of the day, your peace is your greatest wealth. Guard it, nurture it, and protect it from anything or anyone that threatens it. The more peaceful your circle becomes, the more unstoppable you become. Because when you surround yourself with peace, you start to live in it, move in it, and build from it. And that's when your greatness truly begins to shine. Learn to let your success make the noise, not your words. In a world that rewards showing off, boasting, and constant validation, there's something powerful about moving in silence. True success doesn't need a microphone. It speaks for itself through results, consistency, and authenticity. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most successful one. The real winners don't need to announce every move they make. They let their achievements, their discipline, and their growth tell the story. When you focus on proving yourself to others, you waste energy that should be used to build your dream. But when you focus on your craft and your progress, success will eventually speak so loudly that no words will be necessary. There's something special about quiet success. It carries mystery, dignity, and power. When people can't predict your next move, they can't stop it. When you work behind the scenes, you give yourself the freedom to make mistakes, to learn, and to improve without the pressure of an audience. Most people want to be seen building. Few want to actually build. But what you do in private determines what the world will one day see in public. You can spend your time talking about your goals, or you can spend your time achieving them. One earns applause, the other earns respect. Steve Harvey often says, "Don't trip when God is working on your behalf." What that means is that you don't have to broadcast your blessings. Just keep doing your part and trust that the results will show when the time is right. When you let your success speak, it has more power than words ever could. People might doubt your dreams, laugh at your ideas, or underestimate your ability. That's fine. You don't need to argue or explain yourself. Let them talk while you work. Let them question while you focus. Silence can be your greatest advantage because it keeps people guessing. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your journey, your timing, or your progress. The energy you use trying to convince others could be spent building something that will convince them on its own. Results silence critics better than any argument ever could. The truth is, those who talk less often achieve more. The quiet worker stays humble, consistent, and focused while the loud ones chase attention. Talking about what you're going to do gives you a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your mind into feeling like you've already done it. But when you stay quiet, that hunger stays alive. That fire keeps burning. You wake up every day with something to prove to yourself, not to the world. And that's where true success is born, in the quiet grind, in the unseen hours, in the sacrifices that nobody claps for. Letting your success make the noise doesn't mean you hide your achievements. It means you let them come naturally. When you shine, you don't have to say a word. The glow speaks for you. When you walk in excellence, people will notice. When you deliver results, people will respect you. You don't have to chase validation because real success attracts it on its own. The people who matter will see your work, and the ones who don't were never meant to. Keep your head down, keep moving forward, and let time do the talking. There's also peace in quiet success. When you stop announcing your every move, you stop inviting unnecessary opinions, pressure, and expectations. You stop giving people the chance to project their fears onto your goals. You protect your energy. You work freely without fear of judgment or interference. That's when your creativity grows, your confidence strengthens, and your vision becomes clearer. Not everyone deserves to know your process. Some only deserve to see the results. Remember, success is not about being seen. It's about being significant. It's not about impressing others. It's about impacting lives. You can't inspire people by talking about what you'll do. You inspire them by showing what you've done. The world doesn't remember promises, it remembers performances. When you let your results do the talking, your words carry more weight when you finally speak. People listen to those who've proven themselves through action. You also have to understand that quiet success takes patience. You won't see results overnight. There will be moments when you wonder if your silence is worth it, when it feels like no one notices your effort. But that's when you have to remember that roots grow underground. Before a tree breaks through the soil, the work you're doing in the dark is preparing you for your season in the light. Don't rush the process. When it's time, your success will announce itself so powerfully that it won't need an introduction. So stop telling the world what you're building. Stop trying to prove your worth through words. Prove it through work. Prove it through progress. Prove it through the life you live. Every late night, every sacrifice, every quiet moment of effort adds up to something beautiful that no one can take from you. Your silence today will become your applause tomorrow. The people who doubted you will be the same ones asking how you did it. And you won't have to say a thing. Your success will do all the talking. There's a time to speak and a time to work. Now's the time to work. Stay silent, stay focused, stay grounded. Because when you truly let your success make the noise, that sound will echo louder than any words ever could. Stay consistent and humble. Time will reveal your greatness. The truth is, success doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from thousands of small steps taken consistently over time. Every single day you wake up and put in effort, even when you don't feel like it, you're building something powerful. Consistency is what separates dreamers from achievers. Everybody wants success, but not everyone is willing to stay disciplined long enough to earn it. It's easy to start, but it's hard to keep going when the excitement fades and the results don't show up right away. That's why you have to fall in love with the process, not just the reward. You have to trust that every seed you plant, every action you take, and every lesson you learn will eventually bloom, because time never fails to reveal the work you've been doing in silence. Consistency is about showing up, even when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when no one believes in you. You show up. You don't stop because it's hard. You keep going because it's worth it. Steve Harvey says, faith without works is dead. That means you can't just pray for success. You have to work for it daily. You can't do something once and expect results. You have to repeat the grind over and over until it becomes second nature. Success is not built in a day, but it is built day by day. Every small effort compounds. Every time you refuse to quit, you strengthen your character. The most powerful people in the world didn't get there because they were lucky. They got there because they were consistent when others gave up. But consistency alone isn't enough. You also need humility. Humility keeps you grounded while consistency pushes you forward. When you're humble, you remember that no matter how much you've achieved, there's always room to grow. You understand that you're not better than anyone else. You're just focused on becoming better than you were yesterday. Humility keeps your spirit pure. It helps you stay teachable, open to learning from others, and grateful for every opportunity. Because pride can make you forget where you came from, but humility reminds you to keep your feet on the ground while your dreams reach for the sky. When you're humble, you attract people who respect you for who you are, not just what you have. You earn respect instead of demanding it. You inspire others not by showing off, but by showing up. Humility allows you to enjoy your journey without the need to compare it to anyone else's. You realize that everyone has their own pace, their own battles, their own time. What's meant for you will come at the right moment, and you don't have to rush or force it. Time is your ally, not your enemy. When you stay consistent and humble, life has a way of rewarding you in ways you never imagined. There will be seasons when it feels like nothing is happening. You'll work hard and see no results. You'll give your best and still feel unnoticed. That's when humility and consistency are tested the most. But remember, the seed doesn't grow the day it's planted. It grows when it's ready. Your time is coming. Keep watering your dreams. Keep nurturing your vision. Keep showing up even when it's quiet. Because when the time is right, your breakthrough will come. And it will come so powerfully that everyone will see what your patience built. Consistency teaches you discipline. Humility teaches you grace. Together, they build character. They make sure that when your time comes, you're ready for it. Not just in skill, but in spirit. You can't rush greatness. Some people burn out fast because they chase quick success instead of steady growth. But slow progress is still progress. The people who succeed quietly are the ones who kept their heads down, stayed faithful, and trusted the process. The world might overlook you now, but time won't. Time always exposes truth. It reveals the real workers, the real believers, the real fighters. Staying consistent and humble also protects you from arrogance when success finally arrives. Because success can be dangerous if your character isn't strong enough to handle it. The higher you go, the more grounded you need to be. Never forget the days when you prayed for what you have now. Never stop being grateful. Keep learning, keep serving, and keep giving your best. When you remain humble, life will keep blessing you because you show you can handle the blessings with grace. And remember, there's power in persistence. Every time you keep going despite the obstacles, you build momentum. Every day you choose effort over excuses, you become unstoppable. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Even small steps matter when you're consistent. You might not see it yet, but everything you're doing is adding up. The results will come when the time is right, not when you demand them. So stay consistent, stay humble. Let time do its work. Because time has a funny way of showing who is truly serious. Time will expose the pretenders and highlight the doors. Time will reveal your greatness, not because you shouted for it, but because you earned it. Keep your faith strong, your ego low, and your grind steady. And one day, when the world sees what you built, they'll call it success. But you'll know it was simply the result of consistency, humility, and patience working quietly together. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something powerful. Today, every woman listening to me right now has greatness already placed inside her. You don't need permission to be strong. You don't need approval to be confident. You don't need validation to know your worth. But what separates a woman who dreams from a woman who dominates is not talent, not luck, not background. It is daily habits. What you do every single day either builds you up or breaks you down. See, life doesn't change in one big moment. Life changes in small decisions repeated daily. A woman who masters her habits masters her future. And one of the most important habits is how you talk to yourself. Every morning when you wake up, the first voice you hear should not be fear, doubt, or comparison. It should be belief. You've got to learn to speak life over yourself, even when nobody else does. If you don't believe in you, the world won't either. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. Another thing I want you to understand is discipline. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline will carry you when motivation disappears. A woman who shows up even when she's tired, even when she's discouraged, even when nobody is clapping, that woman becomes unstoppable. Discipline is choosing growth over comfort. It's choosing purpose over excuses. You don't wait to feel ready. You move, and readiness catches up with you. You've also got to master the habit of protecting your peace. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Some people will misunderstand you no matter how clearly you explain yourself, and that's okay. Peace is expensive, and not everyone can afford access to it. When you stop reacting to everything, you start controlling everything. A calm woman is a dangerous woman because she sees clearly. Ladies and gentlemen, let me slow this thing down for a moment because this one habit right here can change a woman's entire life if she truly masters it. I'm talking about the way you speak to yourself every single day. See, before the world ever believes in you, before opportunities show up, before doors open, there is a conversation happening inside your own mind. And that conversation is either building you or destroying you. Every woman has an inner voice. The question is, who trained that voice? Was it failure? Was it people who doubted you, criticized you, or underestimated you? Because if you're not careful, you'll start repeating what hurt you instead of what can heal you. You'll wake up every morning already defeated, already tired, already questioning yourself. and the day hasn't even started yet. That's not life, that's survival mode. You have to understand this, your words are powerful. What you say about yourself consistently becomes what you believe, and what you believe eventually becomes how you live. If you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, you'll start shrinking your dreams to match that belief. If you keep saying you're too late, too old, too broken, too different, you'll stop trying before you even begin. The enemy doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes it lives in your own thoughts. A woman who masters her self-talk learns to interrupt negativity. When doubt shows up, she challenges it. When fear speaks, she answers back. She doesn't pretend she's not scared. She just refuses to let fear drive. She reminds herself of what she's already survived, what she's already overcome, and how far she's already come. Confidence isn't about never failing. It's about knowing failure doesn't define you. Let me tell you something else. The world is already tough on women. It judges how you look, how you talk, how you love, how you lead. You cannot afford to join the world in tearing yourself down. You've got to be your own encouragement. When nobody claps, you clap for yourself. When nobody sees the work you're putting in, you keep going anyway. That's strength. That's maturity. That's growth. Positive self-talk doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means choosing hope over hopelessness. It means saying, I'm failing. It means saying, I'm becoming, instead of, I'm not there yet. Words shape perspective, and perspective shapes destiny. The same situation can break one woman and build another, depending on what she tells herself about it. And let me be clear, this is a daily habit. You don't fix years of doubt in one morning. You practice this every day, sometimes every hour. You replace negative thoughts the same way they show up, immediately. Over time, your mind starts to change. Your confidence grows quieter but stronger. You stop seeking approval because you've already approved of yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman learns to speak life into herself, she walks differently. She stands differently. She handles rejection differently. She doesn't fall apart when things don't go her way because her foundation is internal, not external. She knows who she is, even when the world is confused about her. Master this habit, and everything else begins to shift: your choices, your relationships, your future. Because the most important voice you will ever hear is not the one coming from the crowd. It's the one inside you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that separates women who only dream from women who actually build something with their lives. I'm talking about discipline, not motivation, not excitement, discipline. Because motivation will lie to you. Motivation shows up when things feel good, when people are cheering, when progress is visible. But discipline shows up when you're tired, when nobody knows your name, and nobody sees your effort. Every woman has days when she doesn't feel like doing what she said she would do. That's normal. What's not normal is letting feelings run your life. Feelings change, but discipline gives you direction. A disciplined woman understands that success is not about what you feel like doing. It's about what needs to be done. She doesn't wait for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. She moves anyway. Let me say this clearly: discipline is self-respect in action. When you keep the promises you make to yourself, your confidence grows. When you break those promises over and over, you begin to doubt yourself. That's why so many people don't trust their own abilities. They've trained themselves not to. A disciplined woman says, if I said I would do it, I would do it. And that one habit alone changes how she sees herself. Discipline also teaches you how to manage your time and energy. You stop wasting hours on things that don't matter. You stop giving your best energy to people who drain you and leaving nothing for your own goals. A disciplined woman understands that her time is valuable, and she treats it like it's valuable. She plans her days with intention, not chaos. She knows that every hour she invests wisely is a step closer to the life she wants. Now, let's be real, discipline is uncomfortable. It requires sacrifice. It requires saying no to things that feel good in the moment so you can say yes to something greater later. It means getting up early when you'd rather sleep. It means working quietly when you want applause. It means choosing consistency over convenience. But here's the truth: the pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. A disciplined woman doesn't compare her journey to anyone else's. She stays in her lane. She understands that progress looks different for everyone. Some days she moves fast, some days she moves slow, but she never stops. She doesn't quit because it's taken too long. She understands that real growth takes time, patience, and persistence. And let me tell you something powerful. Discipline builds trust with God and with life. When you show up consistently, opportunities begin to recognize you. People start taking you seriously. Doors open not because you asked, but because your habits spoke for you. Discipline creates reliability, and reliability creates influence. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman masters discipline, she becomes dangerous in the best way. She becomes focused. She becomes grounded. She becomes reliable. She doesn't need external pressure because she has internal standards. And once a woman develops discipline, success is no longer a question of if, only when. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that many people overlook, but every powerful woman must master if she wants to grow without losing herself. I'm talking about protecting your peace. Not pretending everything is okay, not avoiding responsibility, but intentionally choosing what deserves your energy and what does not. Peace is not weakness. Peace is wisdom. Every woman faces noise every single day. Noise from people's opinions. Noise from expectations. Noise from social media showing you lives that aren't real. Noise from relationships that demand too much and give too little. If you don't learn how to manage that noise, it will manage you. And when everything has your attention, nothing has your best. A woman who protects her peace understands that not every battle is hers to fight. She doesn't feel the need to explain herself to people who have already decided to misunderstand her. She doesn't waste her breath trying to convince people who don't want to hear the truth. She knows when to speak and when to stay silent. Silence is not losing. Sometimes it's winning with dignity. Let me say this clearly: emotional control is power. When you react to everything, you give control to everyone. People can pull you into drama, anger, and stress whenever they want. But when you choose calm, you take that power back. A peaceful woman can sit in a storm and not become the storm. That kind of strength doesn't come overnight. It comes from self-awareness and practice. Protecting your peace also means setting boundaries, even when it feels uncomfortable. It means saying no without guilt. It means walking away from conversations that disrespect you. It means distancing yourself from people who constantly bring negativity into your life. And yes, sometimes those people are family, friends, or people you once loved. Protecting your peace is not about rejecting people. It's about respecting yourself. Many women feel guilty for choosing peace because they were taught to be everything for everyone, to fix, to heal, to sacrifice endlessly. But here's the truth: you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly exhausted emotionally, you will have nothing left to give to your purpose. A woman who values her peace understands that rest is not laziness and stepping back is not failure. It's strategy. Peace also gives you clarity. When your mind is calm, your decisions become wiser. You stop making choices from desperation or fear. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intentionally. You begin to see people for who they are, not who you hope they will become. And that clarity saves you years of pain. Ladies and gentlemen, protecting your peace doesn't mean life becomes perfect. Problems will still come. Challenges will still show up. But a woman who has mastered this habit handles problems differently. She doesn't fall apart. She doesn't lose herself. She doesn't abandon her values just to win an argument or please a crowd. When a woman walks in peace, her presence speaks louder than her words. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't need chaos to feel alive. She moves with confidence because she knows that peace is her foundation. And when peace becomes a daily habit, everything else in life, success, relationships, purpose, begins to fall into place naturally. Ladies and gentlemen, let me speak to you about something that no one can ever take away from a woman once she truly commits to it. I'm talking about investing in your mind every single day. Your mind is your greatest asset. Before money shows up, before success shows up, before recognition shows up, it all starts in the mind. If your mind is weak, then your life will reflect it. If your mind is strong, your life will follow. A woman who feeds her mind daily understands that growth is a responsibility, not an option. She doesn't wait for someone to teach her everything. She becomes a student of life. She reads when others scroll. She listens when others complain. She asks questions when others assume. And over time, that habit quietly separates her from the crowd. Let me tell you something real. Ignorance is expensive. It costs you opportunities, confidence, and sometimes years of your life. Many women stay stuck not because they lack ability, but because they lack information. When you don't know better, you keep repeating the same mistakes. But the moment you decide to learn, your perspective changes. And when your perspective changes, your decisions change. Investing in your mind doesn't mean you need to be perfect or know everything. It means you commit to improvement. 10 minutes of reading, one inspiring video, one new idea, one lesson learned from a failure. Small mental investments done daily create massive transformation over time. You don't see the results immediately, but one day you look back and realize you're no longer the same woman. A woman who grows her mind becomes harder to manipulate. She doesn't fall for every trend, every lie, every empty promise. She thinks critically. She understands her worth. She knows when something doesn't feel right. Knowledge gives her options, and options give her freedom. A sharp mind creates independence, emotional, financial, and spiritual. Let me also say this. Learning builds confidence in a quiet way. You don't have to announce what you know. You don't have to prove yourself in every room. Your understanding shows in how you speak, how you listen, how you respond. A woman who invests in her mind doesn't rush conversations or chase validation. She moves with depth. Learning is not limited to books or classrooms. Life itself is a teacher if you're paying attention. Every setback has a lesson. Every mistake carries wisdom. Every closed door teaches you something about direction. A woman who learns from life stops seeing herself as a victim and starts seeing herself as a student. That shift alone can change everything. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman commits to feeding her mind daily, she builds a foundation that cannot be shaken. Trends change. People leave. Circumstances shift. What you've learned and how you think stays with you. And once a woman understands the power of her mind, she stops waiting for permission to grow. She takes responsibility for it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something that many women struggle with, not because they are weak, but because they have been taught the wrong lesson for too long. I'm talking about self-respect and boundaries. This is a daily habit that determines how your life feels, how your relationships function, and how much peace you actually experience. A woman who lacks boundaries often gives more than she has, stays longer than she should, and tolerates behavior that slowly damages her spirit. Not because she doesn't know better, but because she's afraid. Afraid of being disliked, afraid of being alone, afraid of being called difficult. But let me tell you something. Every time you abandon yourself to keep someone else comfortable, you pay a price internally. Self-respect begins with knowing your value and refusing to negotiate it. It's understanding that love does not require self-destruction. Loyalty does not mean silence. Kindness does not mean weakness. A woman with self-respect knows where she ends and where others begin. She doesn't allow people to cross her emotional lines just because they are familiar. Setting boundaries is uncomfortable at first. It feels unnatural if you've spent your life pleasing others. You may feel guilty. You may feel selfish. You may feel like you're hurting people. But what you're really doing is teaching people how to treat you. And the ones who truly respect you will adjust. The ones who don't were benefiting from your lack of boundaries. A woman who practices self-respect learns to say no without over-explaining. She doesn't feel the need to justify every decision. She understands that not everyone deserves access to her time, energy, or emotions. Access is earned, not given. And when she says no, she stands on it. That consistency builds strength. Let me be clear, boundaries will cost you some relationships. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to go to your next level. Some people only know how to love the version of you that overgives, overforgives, and overextends. When you change, a growth always requires separation. A woman with self-respect also chooses herself in moments when no one else will. She walks away from disrespect even if it hurts. She doesn't chase apologies that never come. She doesn't beg for basic decency. She understands that being alone is better than being repeatedly disrespected. That kind of courage builds unshakable confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman masters self-respect as a daily habit, her life begins to shift. Stress decreases. Relationships become healthy or disappear. Decisions become clearer. She no longer asks, why do people treat me this way? Because she has already set the standard. And once a woman knows her worth, she stops allowing anything or anyone to make her forget it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about a habit that keeps a woman grounded without keeping her stuck. I'm talking about living with gratitude while still carrying ambition in your heart. Too many people think you have to choose one or the other. Either you're thankful or you're hungry for more. But the strongest women understand how to balance both. Gratitude is what keeps you humble. It reminds you of how far you've come, not just how far you have to go. When a woman practices gratitude daily, she stops waking up angry at life. She stops comparing her journey to everyone else's highlight reel. She begins to notice the progress she once prayed for. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's working, and that alone can change your energy completely. But let me be clear, gratitude does not mean settling. Ambition is what keeps you moving. It's the quiet fire that pushes you to grow, to improve, to aim higher. A woman with ambition refuses to live on potential alone. She wants results. She wants impact. She wants to leave something behind. Ambition says, I'm thankful, but I'm not finished. The danger comes when gratitude disappears and ambition turns into desperation. That's when success never feels like enough. No matter what you achieve, you're empty. On the other hand, gratitude without ambition leads to comfort that slowly becomes stagnation. A woman who masters both knows how to appreciate today while building tomorrow. Gratitude also builds resilience. When life gets hard, and a thankful woman doesn't crumble as easily. She remembers past victories. She remembers answered prayers. She remembers moments she survived that once felt impossible. That memory gives her strength. It reminds her that storms pass and growth comes after pressure. Ambition, when guided properly, gives direction to her efforts. She sets goals with intention. She doesn't chase everything. She chases what aligns with her purpose. She understands that real success takes time, discipline, and patience. She doesn't rush the process because she respects the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, a woman who practices gratitude daily carries herself differently. She's not bitter. She's not entitled. She's not constantly angry at the world. And a woman who nurtures ambition doesn't shrink herself to make others comfortable. She dreams boldly, works quietly, and trusts the process. When gratitude and ambition walk together, a woman becomes powerful in a balanced way. She enjoys the present without losing sight of the future. She celebrates small wins while preparing for bigger ones. She doesn't feel guilty for wanting more. And she doesn't forget to appreciate what she already has. That balance creates peace, confidence, and fulfillment. And when a woman masters this habit daily, she stops chasing happiness. She becomes it while still moving forward.